Yeah, so my name is Aksel, and I will present a study I've done in collaboration with my colleague and supervisor, Håkansson, where we explore how sustainability-oriented community organizations try to scale up their work and the role of ICT in this process. So sustainability has been an emerging topic in HCI for 10 years, generating insights about a wide range of ways HCI can contribute to reducing CO2 emissions. From thinking differently about how we design digital products, so how we design home energy systems, monitoring energy consumption, to impacting environmental policy more broadly. And throughout this body of work, much focus has been given the individual and questions around consumption. And in recent years, there's been calls to go beyond this perspective and move towards a scale beyond individually targeted interventions. And some examples of this work include design for sharing, how to enhance community engagement, as well as how to support transitions to sustainable practices. Despite all these attempts, a hard dilemma in Sustainable HCI has been to understand how to scale up our work targeting sustainability in order to scale up both action and effect. And this dilemma is nothing new and has been pointed out by the community as a problem. We still don't know enough about how to design for large groups or to evaluate results when it comes to sustainability. In particular, there's a lack of work looking at what it takes on the ground to scale up and what it means practically at the community level and beyond when it comes to the role of ICT. So addressing this knowledge gap, we ask ourselves what kind of groups or communities that could teach us more about scale and how to scale up. And through this work, we identified a number of local organizations in our city that are loosely connected to the transition movement, which we found interesting. The transition movement is a grassroots movement represented worldwide, actively trying to transform current practices in society to tackle the challenges of climate change. So the core idea is to transition to a more sustainable society through local and practical action, crowdsourcing solutions, and building resilience within local communities. So with this as the starting point, we interviewed key members from 10 community organizations in Gothenburg, Sweden. And there are several reasons for why we wanted to look more closer at these. First of all, they're working with sustainability-oriented issues on a small scale, and they're aiming towards scaling up the efforts, trying to make change. And also trying to create new solutions, but lack the infrastructure, and often have to set up from scratch. And finally, they're not isolated groups, but well integrated in the society that they're trying to change. So all this provides good insight into the hard legwork that goes into scaling up. And we believe this makes them highly interesting to look at, to understand scaling up sustainability-oriented change. So the organizations come in all shapes and sizes. Amongst the organizations we interviewed, we find, for example, a bike kitchen, a tool library, and a food sharing initiative. The organizations are primarily organized as non-profit associations and show great variation in age, size, available resources, and as well as how they use technology. So all use technology in some way, for example, to communicate, coordinate, collaborate, and manage their work. And they do this through using internet services, social media, and homemade solutions. So I don't have time to talk about them in more detail, but I will highlight some key characteristics and motivations that drive them. So all organizations are similar when it comes to the activities and the purpose of their work. Their dominant theme is to preserve, share, and repurpose resources in some way. Another shared theme is the focus on sharing knowledge, skills, and experiences. So through learning together about why and how we need to use resources more sustainably, the organizations are aiming to promote alternatives to current practices in society and helping people to learn new skills. So, and finally, sustainability is a key motivation for them. Through enabling more social, economic, and environmentally sustainable solutions, they try to address the challenge of sustainability through their practical activities. So before I talk about our findings, I want to clarify what we mean by scale and scaling up in this study. Scaling up for these organizations is about reaching more people across a city, nation, or a region or nation instead across the globe. But scale, however, is not merely about engaging with a larger group of people, but intervening at a level where solutions can create a change to make a larger impact. So scaling up in this context refers to the activities that try to identify and move towards a scale beyond individually targeted interventions, where a larger impact can enable more people to take part. So I will present our findings now. So through our work, 3 stages of scaling up emerged in our data: sustaining, growing, and spreading. These stages can be seen as different but not exclusive modes in which an organization can find itself. They're not linear and can take place simultaneously, with the organization cycling through these stages depending on their current needs and resources. For example, an organization might be able to sustain itself and spread, but not necessarily grow. So each stage encompasses change-making in one way or the other, and can pose challenges to the community organizations like the ones in our study, and where ICT might provide support. I will describe each stage in turn and talk a bit about what ICT play in each of them, what role they play. Now it's frozen. Just a second. Sorry for that. Yeah, so the first stage is about keeping the organization running over time. This involves everything from securing funding and material resources, attracting volunteers, to establishing working routines and practices. Through sustaining the organization in the long term and being able to manage the everyday work involved, this creates possibilities to scale up their change-making further. So this stage is therefore largely about securing prerequisites to enable the 2 other stages. The organizations are dealing with a lot of uncertain and changing conditions in their work. For instance, a number of the organizations don't have a permanent office or space, but rely on shared spaces. And another constraint is that people come and go, being active and then disappearing after that. So ICT play a crucial role in making it easier to sustain these organizations. They rely heavily on a number of different tools to coordinate and manage their work. Okay, I have some problems with my PowerPoint, sorry. Oh, shit. Sorry for this. Yeah, so I was saying that they rely heavily on ICT to manage their work. So several of the organizations work in a distributed manner, spread across the city, and use real-time messaging and cloud services to do so. An internet platform such as wikis is another example of how ICT can support the organizations. So when people come and go, being able to save key information, knowledge, and lessons learned is critical and helps those that come after in managing the organization. Beyond keeping the organization running on an everyday basis, the organizations aim at increasing the impact in society through scaling up their activities and expanding their operations in a practical sense. We call this the growing stage, and it involves activities such as expanding beyond the initial user group, building new infrastructure, and collaborating with others to enable growth. Scaling up is complex work. For instance, the organizations describe catch-22 situations of needing to expand in order to take more members and activities, but at the same time needing more members and activities to expand. So organizations describe situations where they want to do more but have to turn down opportunities because of the lack of people and resources. So ICT in this stage is mainly about being able to reach more people and creating the infrastructure to do so. So they see also a lot of opportunities with ICT and addressing how to grow, but a key challenge with these organizations is to take advantage of what ICT can offer because they lack the resource and in-house expertise to do so. So this makes them feel stuck doing things manually and in a scaled-down way. The last stage we identified is the spreading stage, whereas growing is about expanding in a practical sense. Spreading is a more abstract form of scaling up that involves making ideas, skills, and knowledge accessible to others. So I want to point out here that growing and spreading are not are closely intertwined and not exclusively different or necessarily sequential. But so spreading does not necessarily happen after an organization has grown. And spreading could mean replicating by helping others start similar activities, or proactively share norms and culture. And from what we have seen, it's the organizations that have built up most social capital and momentum that seem to be most successful at scaling up the effect by spreading solutions and insights to others. And just as in the other stages, ICT play an important role also here, but ICT seem to be playing a more functional role in this stage, whereas the members, their time and dedication that is truly making spreading possible. So in our paper we talk more about this, and I encourage you to read the paper if you want to learn more. So considering these three stages and the opportunities and challenges the organizations face, I will present some implications for HCI. So we see three overarching themes in implications: design for enabling large scale, design for resilience, and accepting that scaling up is not always possible or the point. And for each theme I will present one example of what this could mean for HCI. So ICT play a crucial role in enabling our organizations in our study to scale up. Many saw great potential in ICT solutions, helping them achieve their goals. Despite this, a majority lacked the necessary skill and knowledge to take full advantage of what ICT could offer. So one implication for HCI is therefore to empower community organizations, not only with technical solutions, but also ICT knowledge and skills. And through learning about ICT, community organizations can become better at using technology and advance their agenda. And beyond the scaled up technical service, there's something more happening in these organizations that we believe is equally crucial to making impact. Our participants pointed out a clear need to build resilience within local communities. And resilience in this context is about being able to withstand and adapt to changing circumstances and sustain their activities in the long term. So thinking about this, another implication we want to highlight is to design for resilience through supporting and encouraging activities that make sure people meet and learn together. So without this key aspect, there's a risk we will make activities more efficient, but diverge away from the values that define these kind of community organizations. Things such as sharing, sustainability, democracy, openness, trust, and informal learning, which is all important to them, framing how they work. And the social encounters and interactions are a vital element of their activities and key in supporting long-term social sustainability and knowledge sharing. The final implication I want to mention is to accept that not all ideas or groups need to scale up. A few of the ideas we have seen might not really be scalable or make sense to scale up. For instance, a physical bike kitchen is very different from a more digitally scalable idea, such as a food sharing initiative, which could rely on a digital platform and distributed members to run its activities. So organizations can be bound by their characteristics, and therefore might not be possible or even the point to scale up. Some might also be satisfied with the things are and don't want to scale up any further. To sum up the work, our study provides new empirical insights into the stages of scaling up sustainability-oriented community work and the role of ICT in this process, which is relevant to the continued discussions within HCI on how we can scale up our work targeting sustainability. Drawing from this work, we identified a number of opportunities and implications for HCI to support community organizations like the ones in our study, including how to design for enabling large scale, design for resilience, and accepting that not all ideas or groups need to scale up. I encourage you to read our paper to learn more. Thank you.
Hi, Adrian Friday, Lancaster University. Thanks for your talk. I find these kind of grassroots initiatives really inspiring. And I just wondered if you can comment on whether there was something about either the cultural support or the infrastructural support from where these groups are that gets them started. So I'm thinking here, if the civic authority puts space aside for them, or change taxation, or are they creating a special environment that makes these more likely to be successful where you've studied them, or are there opportunities there to make them spread elsewhere?
So thank you for your question. Like in Gothenburg, there's been these student initiatives that grow into more formal organizations, and there's this it's like it's an interest organization for non-profit organizations, and they try to facilitate the possibility for smaller initiatives to come together in a larger space, like a transition space or something like that. And maybe they have different stations or places to be, but they have some kind of synergy effect. But the city also has trying to empower or support through funding or other things. But especially spaces it's other organizations that maybe have a space that can contribute to the. I don't know if it's answered your question.
I think especially in urban environments, space is the thing that becomes really expensive, and it's really hard for communities to find space. So I think that's important. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi there, Alan Dix, Computational Foundry. I was fascinated, actually, your breakdown, and particularly the growth versus the spreading, and because I was wondering about the parallels to small business, because certainly in the UK, what you get is the focus on businesses growing and getting bigger. In rural areas, especially micro businesses, the kind of thing that's one or two people, they often don't want to grow. And actually a focus on spreading, on how you can perhaps do mentoring, knowledge sharing, it seems more appropriate. And it's very fascinating. Your last was about, do you need to scale at all? But actually there it was that they don't want to scale by growing, but you would want to scale, I think, by spreading. So anyway, I just thought that was, I'm sure if you've sort of seen those parallels with this sort of micro-business movement.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.